Welcome to White Star Horrors Studio. Tonight we have two scary tales for your listening pleasure. Crimson Veil, Spectral Lullabies. Original untold stories by William and read by Maxwell. Crimson Veil, a tale of the blood moon. The village of Eldritch Hollow lay nestled in the embrace of ancient forests, its history woven with dark secrets. The air buzzed with anticipation as the night of the blood moon approached, an event dreaded by the villagers for generations. Legends spoke of a crimson veil that descended upon the town, unleashing horrors that lurked in the shadows. As the blood moon rose, casting an eerie red glow across the sky, the village square filled with whispered fears. Eldritch Hollow's streets emptied as doors were bolted shut, and windows were tightly sealed against the malevolence that rode the crimson night. Lena, a young woman with an insatiable curiosity, couldn't resist the allure of the blood moon. Drawn to the mysteries that shrouded her village, she found herself wandering through the moonlit streets, the air thick with an otherworldly tension. The crimson glow intensified as Lena reached the outskirts of Eldritch Hollow. The forest, normally a haven of tranquility, seemed alive with unseen forces. Shadows danced in the moonlight, their movements a macabre prelude to the horrors that awaited. A haunting melody drifted through the air, carried by an unseen wind. The notes were melancholic, tugging at Lena's very soul. Mesmerized, she followed the ethereal tune into the heart of the ancient woods, where the trees loomed like ancient sentinels. As Lena ventured deeper, the haunting melody led her to an ancient clearing bathed in the blood moon's glow. In the center stood an altar, adorned with eerie symbols and surrounded by a crimson mist. The source of the haunting melody became clear. An otherworldly figure, draped in a flowing red veil, stood beside the altar. The figure turned to face Lena, revealing eyes that gleamed like coals in the dark. A voice, both enchanting and foreboding, echoed through the clearing. "Welcome, child of Eldritch. The blood moon calls to those who dare to unveil the secrets that lie beneath the crimson veil." Compelled by an unseen force, Lena approached the mysterious figure. The veil, though concealing the face, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The figure extended a hand, and Lena, entranced, placed her palm against the crimson fabric. As the connection formed, Lena felt a surge of memories flood her mind, visions of ancient rituals, unspeakable horrors, and a pact made under the blood moon's gaze. The crimson veil, a conduit for malevolent forces, bound the village to a cycle of nightmarish rites. The figure spoke of a choice to embrace the veil's curse and gain forbidden knowledge, or to resist and face the wrath of the blood moon. Lena, torn between curiosity and fear, hesitated, but the pull of forbidden truths proved too strong to resist. As the figure unveiled the secrets hidden behind the crimson veil, the forest trembled. Shadows morphed into grotesque shapes, and the haunting melody intensified into a cacophony of anguished wails. Eldritch Hollow, ensnared by the malevolence, echoed with the cries of the tormented. The crimson veil, now a living entity, enveloped Lena. Her eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light as forbidden knowledge surged through her veins. The forest, once a place of quiet contemplation, transformed into a realm of nightmare and despair. Eldritch Hollow, gripped by the blood moon's malevolence, awoke to a crimson nightmare. Shadows danced with unholy glee, and the villagers, caught in the grip of the veil's curse, became vessels for ancient horrors. The once peaceful streets teemed with spectral entities, their eyes gleaming with an insatiable hunger. Lena, now a conduit for the veil's malevolence, walked the moonlit streets with an ethereal grace. Her eyes, once filled with innocence, held a malevolent gleam. The haunting melody followed her every step, a dirge that echoed through the village square. The remaining villagers, caged in the crimson nightmare, became unwitting participants in a grotesque masquerade. The veil, now an entity of its own, fed on the fear and despair that permeated Eldritch Hollow. The blood moon's glow intensified, casting a surreal pallor over the once tranquil village. As the night wore on, Eldritch Hollow descended into madness. The Veil's curse twisted reality, warping the fabric of the village into a surreal dreamscape. Streets led to nowhere, and buildings morphed into nightmarish structures that defied the laws of nature. In the heart of the chaos, Lena, now a spectral figure draped in the crimson veil, stood beside the altar in the ancient clearing. The haunting melody reached a crescendo, resonating with the cries of the tormented. The village, caught in the grip of the blood moon's malevolence, seemed on the verge of being consumed by the Veil's curse. As dawn approached, the blood moon's glow began to wane, and the spectral entities dissipated like morning mist. The crimson veil, sated by the night's horrors, retreated into the shadows, leaving Eldritch Hollow in an unsettling silence. The villagers awoke, their memories fragmented and dreams haunted by the ephemeral nightmare. Lena, now free from the Veil's curse, stood in the clearing, her eyes holding a mix of remorse and sorrow. The haunting melody lingered, a mournful echo of the horrors that had unfolded under the blood moon's gaze. Eldritch Hollow, forever marked by the crimson nightmare, stood as a testament to the fragile boundary between forbidden knowledge and the darkness that lurked within. The village, though freed from the Veil's curse, carried the weight of the blood moon's malevolence in its collective memory, an enduring tale of a night when reality twisted and nightmares became reality. Spectral lullabies. The old mansion on the outskirts of town stood in eerie silence, as if holding its breath, waiting for something that had long been forgotten. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the tragic history of the place, a tale of lost love, betrayal, and a mysterious disappearance that had plagued the mansion for decades. They called it the House of Whispering Shadows. One moonlit night, Sarah, a curious journalist seeking to uncover the truth behind the legends, decided to venture into the heart of darkness. Armed with a dim flashlight and a trembling resolve, she stepped through the creaking front door, unaware that the spectral lullabies had already begun their haunting melody. The air inside was thick with a sense of foreboding as Sarah explored the dilapidated rooms. Dust danced in the feeble beam of her flashlight, casting eerie shapes on the decaying wallpaper. As she moved deeper into the mansion, the silence was broken only by the rhythmic echoes of her own footsteps and the distant howling of the wind outside. In a forgotten nursery, Sarah discovered an old, out-of-tune piano covered in a dusty white sheet. Intrigued, she reached out and removed the cover, revealing yellowed keys that seemed to beckon her to play. The room, once a place of joy, now whispered tales of sorrow. As her fingers touched the keys, a haunting melody filled the air. It was a lullaby, sweet and melancholic, as if sung by a ghostly voice from another realm. The spectral lullabies had found their conduit in Sarah, and the very essence of the house seemed to respond to her presence. The temperature dropped, and Sarah could see her breath in the chilling air. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on twisted forms that seemed to mimic the tragic events of the past. The lullaby grew louder, wrapping around her like an invisible shroud. As she played, Sarah became lost in the music, transported to a time long ago. The walls around her faded, replaced by scenes of a forbidden love affair that had unfolded within these very walls. A woman in a flowing gown and a man in a dapper suit danced through the grand ballroom, oblivious to the consequences of their passion. The music took a darker turn, mirroring the betrayal that had shattered their idyllic world. Sarah felt the pain, the heartbreak, and the anguished cries that resonated within the mansion's walls. The spectral lullabies revealed the tragic tale of the lovers torn apart by jealousy and deceit. Suddenly, the music stopped, and Sarah found herself back in the decaying nursery. The shadows clung to her like a cloak, and the room seemed colder than before. The once inviting piano now emanated an ominous aura, as if the spirits of the past demanded justice. A ghostly figure materialized before her, the woman from the tragic tale. Her eyes bore into Sarah's soul, and a mournful expression played on her translucent face. The spirit reached out, and the room filled with the sound of spectral lullabies once more. Sarah, realizing the depth of the sorrow embedded in the mansion, made a solemn promise to uncover the truth and bring peace to the tormented souls trapped within. The spectral lullabies continued, echoing through the house of whispering shadows, a haunting reminder of a love lost and a darkness that refused to be forgotten. As she left the mansion, Sarah felt the weight of the past on her shoulders. The spectral lullabies had told their story, and now it was up to her to unveil the secrets that lingered in the shadows of the haunted house. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Please stay tuned for new episodes of White Star Horror Stories, presented Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m.